Welcome to the Veterans Growing America podcast. I am Coach Ariel Simmons. I am here with my illustrious co-host, Donnell Johns, and we have another special guest for you today. We have Mr. Eric McConaty. He is the founder and CEO of Tactical Growth Strategies Coaching, or TGS Coaching. How are you doing today, sir? Oh, don't let me forget, he is an Army veteran. Go Army.
Appreciate that. Hey, I'm doing really well. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
So, Eric, we know each other, but I want my audience to know you. Can you tell us a little bit about your military experience and background?
Yeah, so military experience, I got into the Army because I didn't really have another option. I was a bit of a partier when I was young. I like to go out and I like to have a good time. And I didn't take school very seriously, barely graduated. And so I knew that I wanted to go to college, but really I wanted to go to college just because I wanted to party more, but that wasn't really an option for me. Spoke to my guidance counselor and my parents, and everyone was like, no, like college didn't happen for you. So I went to a recruiter. I found an Army recruiter and I told him that I wanted to go to college and I wanted to party. And he said, I'll do you better. We'll pay for your college and we'll pay you to go to college and you'll get to party all the time. So I took the ASVAB with the Army and they told me I could do whatever job I wanted, which was surprising considering I was about to fail out of high school. So I picked intelligence analyst. I went 35 Fox. My recruiter has swore up and down that Intel people didn't deploy, that I could do that from stateside. He even went and met with my mom, looked her straight in the eye and told her that I was going to be okay, that I wasn't going to deploy. This is the middle of Iraq, Afghanistan. And then I get to basic training and they're like, no, you guys are going. And then I get to my first duty station at Fort Campbell. And I went to go meet the first sergeant and the commander, and they said, I don't know what they told you, but you need to go, when you leave here, call your mom, tell her you're going to Afghanistan, because that's where we're headed. And then on top of that, I didn't realize that an intel person would not always be in the talk. I didn't realize that I'd be out on foot and out with the infantry a lot of times. So a lot of surprises, lots of good experience there. So I was with the 101st. I did a year-long deployment with them. I came back a couple months later. They were starting a new program with advisors. So I went back for another 10 months. That second time, I was on a team of mostly officers, and we were all doing the same job. And they came back with a lot more money in their bank account than I did. And I said, hey, man, what's going on with this? I need to get an education. I came here to go to college. So I left active duty for a little while, went to college, went back on active duty for another 3 years, and then transitioned to the National Guard. And from there, I was in a special operations unit for a couple of years, and then worked up here in Arlington at the National Guard headquarters for a couple of years. And then I'm still in the National Guard now. So here we are almost 17 years later. I'm still doing it.
That's awesome. Our stories are parallel in so many different ways, man. I see why we get along so well.
It's funny because I had the same experience too. I took as a finance tech. I get to my first duty station. First sergeant goes, hey, I don't know what they told you, but you about to be in the first thing smoking in Iraq. I don't think I was on ground for more than 2 weeks before I was about to be on my way.
Yep.
Yeah. So similar story. So tell me, how did your training and your military experience influence your journey into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think I didn't have a lot of direction growing up. And the military was the first thing that I did that really challenged me. It made me realize that if I tried at things, that I could do things and do things well. I think up to that point, most of my life, I always took the easy route. I was generally pretty talented at things. Things came easy to me, so I didn't put a lot of effort into them. So it came, I think if I go back to when I tried out for the special operations unit, you had to go through a selection process. And I didn't prepare for it. I just figured I'm good at PT. I'm going to be fine when I get there. And then I got there and everything was obviously a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. I relied on my team to tell me what to do a lot of times when it was my turn to be in charge. And then at the end of the process, you go through a board process and the presidents of the board evaluate how you did, your peer evaluations, all that kind of stuff. And one of them looked at me and said, hey, I think you're pretty good, but you also realize that you suck. And I didn't know what he meant at first. And then he basically just explained that it was clear that I didn't prepare for it. And I ended up getting selected anyway, just because I had specific experience with that, with what I was looking to do. But I drove home from that experience and I realized that he was right and that I'd never put a ton of effort into anything. And then if I was doing well without putting effort in, I wondered what I could do if I did put effort in. So I came up with this idea in my head. I just kept telling myself not to suck. I was like, don't suck. And whenever I felt like being lazy and whenever I felt like I didn't want to do something, I just remind myself not to suck. And then the more effort I put into things, the faster I excelled in the Army, and then my civilian career, I was a federal civilian for a while. The same thing. I put effort into it, and then the next thing I knew, I moved up the GS pay scale really quickly. And so I was building confidence that I didn't have before, that if I put effort towards things, then I won't suck at them. And really, that was the leap that made me leave the government and step out and start a business on my own. So a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of self-belief. I just knew that I had more to give than what I was doing. And the Army was really the stepping stone that got me there, that taught me to believe in myself, and that if you put effort into things, then you can do a lot more than you think you can.
I've always said your mindset and your motivation and direction will get you far, but it first has to start with the mind. And so congratulations on that. I do want to ask you a question on what inspired you. What was the inspiration behind you starting your own business?
Yeah, certainly. I think the short answer is I had just read a book called 6 Working Geniuses. And so the idea in that book is within every organization, with every project, that there's 6 different personality types. And I probably won't remember all of them now, but the idea is that some people get energy from coming up with ideas and being the good idea fairy. Some people get energy from being the soundboard to that and like testing those things. Some people get energy from managing teams and leading people. Other people get energy from just working on a project. And then there's some people that really like to just close at all costs. So they'll finish the job at all costs and make sure that it's done on time. So as I went through that book, I was looking at my career that I was in and wondering why I felt so drained at the end of the day. And I realized that I was spending most of my time doing work that drained me of my energy. So I took an evaluation of all the things that I did, and I kind of bucketed them into those 6 working geniuses from the book. And then I came out with what I wanted to do and how I could create a life that made money that would only let me focus on the things that gave me energy. And I knew that I was really good at managing things and keeping things on track and coming up with processes and structure to things. And then I also liked being with people and getting people excited and motivated about an idea or a task or a project. And I could get people to follow me into doing those things. So then I was like, how could I make money just doing that? It was kind of the idea. And so that's where business coaching came up. And some of the people that I look up to, like Jocko, and these guys have successful businesses that do that. And I figured if somebody else could do it and I put effort into it, then I could do it also. So that was kind of the inspiration that led me to that. I knew that I felt like I had climbed the ladder of the government world, but the ladder was on the wrong building. And so I knew that I needed to make a change. And it was a really tough decision at the time. I had a newborn. I was going through all this while I was on parental leave. I had a newborn and a 1.5-year-old at home. So having that discussion with my wife, telling her that I think I want to quit my job and start a business that I don't have any experience in. I'm not going to make any money. So that was not an easy conversation. I'm just lucky that she believed in me and she supported me and had faith that I'd figure it out.
It's funny how in life, when you give yourself no other avenue but success finds you. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, you got to pull the net. We'll talk about it's not as cool to watch somebody walk on a tightrope unless there's no net below them. Sometimes you got to pull the net.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. So speaking of business coaching, I know you touched on it a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your business, your unique proposition of your business.
Yeah, so business coaching is kind of a broad term. I try to explain business coaching as the people I work with are generally started a business because they were good at creating a product or providing a service. And then when they got into the business, now they're overwhelmed at the business part of it. They're no longer just doing the thing that they got into business for. So what I do is I come in and I work with them and provide an outside perspective and accountability to help them make the right decisions that are going to move the business forward. You can think of the entrepreneur that'll spend all day trying to figure out a problem that they could pay somebody else $20 to do for them. And I'm that voice that shows up on a weekly basis that tells them, just pay somebody $20 and get this thing over with. And so we talk through those things. A lot of times it ends up being a therapy session because it can be lonely when you run a business. And when you don't have anyone else to talk to and anybody else that understands what's going on, I can be the ear that you vet to. And then we focus from whatever you're feeling into the actual issues and how to mitigate those things.
You're spot on. It took me a minute to really realize that when I first started my business, maybe because I didn't know that there was a Fiverr out there or Upwork or any of those type of organizations. So congratulations on helping people with that. I did want to ask you about the transition from military to entrepreneurship, even though you're still in the military right now, but entrepreneurship is something that you're in. And I know you talked about you had to make that decision. What are some of the challenges that you face? Because I know it's not all roses and bubblegum.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge I faced is, my whole adult life has been military or federal government. And there's always a mentor above you, someone that's done the job before you. And then there's always some sort of regulation or instruction or something to tell you what to do or what needs to be done. And when you step out and you start a business, that doesn't exist. You have to go find those people now. And not everyone that you meet is going to be a mentor. And not every book you're going to read is going to change your business. So I think it was a combination of that and not having a team anymore. So you're always surrounded by people, and you really make most of your friends and your family friends. Everyone is connected through the military. And then when you step into business, you're on an island by yourself. And then if you need to hire people, no one's ever taught you how to hire people. And so you got to go through that process and figure out the best way to do it and make sure that you get people that you can work with. And so there's just a lot of different obstacles of sort of feeling isolated, feeling alone when you first step into business. But those things, they go away. You figure it out. You get around people, you network, you meet people, and then you quickly identify the people that are going to be in your corner and that you can turn to when you need help for things. And then in my case, if that instruction doesn't exist out there, then sometimes you just got to create it.
I love that. I love that. We're going to get into it a little bit later on about what you've created, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, so from your military experience, what are some like key lessons or takeaways that you have that you now apply to your business?
So I think perseverance is the word that comes to mind. I think in the military, you learned how to put up with the suck. And there's definitely a lot of suck that happens when you're first starting out in business. There's definitely a lot of those days that you wonder, why the heck did you do this? Was this a terrible idea? And you really worry about those things. But I think I learned in the military, whether it was from deployments or training environments and just leading people in general, is that if you generally start to fall in love with the process, then the outcome's just kind of the cherry on top, and how to persevere through that. And so I had to come up with mindsets when I was in the military of how to get through difficult things, whether it was a long ruck march or a long deployment. And so I kind of came up with this idea. I call it like the rucksack. And every hard thing that I do in life, I throw that into my rucksack. And then when I'm going through the next hard thing and it feels like it's going to be too much, or I'm starting to have self-doubt and I'm starting to have negative thought creep in, then I can reach back into that rucksack and I can look and say like, hey, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And I know that if I keep going, that there's going to be good on the other side of this. So I think the perseverance part is the biggest thing that I've taken away. And then really just how to connect with people. As you move up in the military, you're undoubtedly going to be in leadership positions. And if you're leading people and you can't figure out how to communicate with them, you're not going to be a very good leader. So not everybody communicates the same way. You can't use the same approach for everyone that you talk to. Being able to identify those things quickly and then adapt to the person that I'm speaking to make sure that my message gets across and I can help them in the way that they need to be helped has been a big part of it as well.
No, that's huge. I mean, I usually tell people when it gets hard, you're closer to success. And you just kind of prove that with your rucksack theory, is those things that you put in your rucksack are preparing you for your journey. So let's talk a little bit about Business Boot Camp, especially about where it was birthed and then what it does for people.
Yeah. So like I said, when I first got into this, I wanted to have as much information on business as I could. So I broke business coaching up into 3 basic areas that I needed to be good at. And I knew that I needed to learn how to market. I knew that I needed to learn how to sell. And then I knew that I needed to learn how to coach. So I just went online and I found the top 10 marketing books, and then I read all 10 of them. And then I went on to sales, did the same thing, all 10 sales books, and then same thing for coaching. And at the end of all of those, that it didn't matter how popular the book was. Most of them just focused on one small aspect of marketing or one small aspect of sales. There was never like a complete picture that told you, okay, now I'm running a business. Now, what does all this stuff mean? How do I put it all together? What do I do? Like, in what order do I need these things? And then how do I actually do these now? And so that had kind of been frustrating me for a while. And then I'm a part of this amazing organization known as Veterans Grow in America. And they really gave me a community. And then one night I got an email saying that they were hosting a mastermind group focused around the book, The E-Myth Revisited. So I joined the mastermind group and we were going through eMyth, and that really focuses on solopreneurs. But it was a good example of a step-by-step book for me that it opened my eyes in a lot of different aspects. And as I was reading that book, I was thinking of the different gaps that were there and how there could be something that was more modern and that could help the small size business that's more like 2 to 20 employees. So then I just stayed up one night and it kind of came in my head, this idea of like why it feels so overwhelming to run a business and there's so many pieces to it, and why a lot of those books only focus on one piece because you can go so far into it. And I just mapped it all out in a series of gears. And then the last session of the mastermind group, I presented that to the group. I mean, I think 80% of the people came over and took a picture of my notebook afterwards, and people were asking me like how to do different parts of it. And then they were like, that makes a ton of sense. That's why it feels so heavy trying to do everything, because you've got 100 gears that you just drew here that we're all trying to do ourselves. And then, so that was the seed that planted that. And the host of that came up to me afterwards and she was like, man, I wish that was a book. If that was a book, then that'd be something that we could coach other groups on, and that would be helpful for people. And I left that night and I went home and started scratching down the first couple pages of the outline of the book that is now Business Bootcamp. And so Business Bootcamp, I call it, that is the field manual that small business owners need when they get into business. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're already established. So each chapter focuses on a foundational business principle. We talk about the principle in itself. I talk about how to implement it within the business, the pitfalls that you should avoid when you're trying to implement that. And then every chapter ends with an AI prompt on whatever that principle was. So you can go in and you can fill out your information for your business into that prompt, and you leave each chapter with another piece of the puzzle for your business. And the cool thing of that, so not only are you building things as you go through the book, at the end of it, you now have an AI chatbot that is trained on your business and the goals and challenges that you have. So as you come up with other questions after the book is done, that chatbot is now going to spit out answers to you that are directly related to the outcomes that you want for your business. And so the book came out last month and it did really well. We hosted the book launch there at the VGA building in Woodbridge, and it did really well. It was a good turnout. We had a good discussion about it, and it reached the top 20 business books on Amazon the first week. And it's really getting out to a lot of people right now. And the feedback has been nothing but positive about how it's changed. The first comment I got from somebody, they were just getting ready to start an HVAC business. And he was like, I didn't even get past the first chapter before I realized that I didn't have a strong enough why. I didn't know why I was doing this. I just thought that I was good at fixing air conditioners, that I should do it for myself and stop working for somebody else. And he was like, now I'm just sitting here. My wife and I are talking every night, trying to figure out what our why is and why I want to do this and if it's even worth it. And so from the first chapter on, you're going to get nuggets of advice in there that'll really change the way you think and help push the business in the right direction.
And the most important thing that's about to happen is at VGA, we're going to host a mastermind group wrapped around the book, The Business Bootcamp. And then I also talked to another organization where they plan on buying the books for the people that participate in the program. So
yes, I love to hear that the dream is coming true as we're speaking, and I just couldn't be happier. Let's grow.
Let's grow. Let's grow.
No, we're going to close out the show. We just wanted to know if there's any last words that you wanted to say to the listeners out there, especially the beginner business owners and the prospective business owners, and where they need to be or where to get to where they want to be.
Yeah, certainly. So I think that the biggest thing I like to tell people to start with is you got to have a strong why, sort of feeding off of what I just talked about there. That why, the reason that you're doing it, has to be big enough to make you want to stay up late, get up early, do the things that you don't want to do, but you know need to happen. And if the why is only you want to make money, that's probably not strong enough. And so you got to tie that to something deeper, because that's what's going to help you push through. Then once you've got that, you got to find a community. You got to find a network of people that are going to support you, that can put you in front of your ideal customer, and that you can bounce ideas off of. And that's huge because, like we talked about, it gets lonely when you start out. So if you have that strong community around you, they're going to keep you motivated. They're going to push you through when things feel tough, and they're going to get you connected. And sometimes that may take a while, right? You have to keep showing up at the same place, building those relationships, and then all of a sudden, maybe a year or two later, you're hosting a mastermind group around a book that you wrote. Those things take time, but you have to be in those places and make those connections in order for that to happen. So I think those are the two big ones. And I look at an organization like Veterans Grow in America and how much they've done for me since I've been in business. I guess going back to the community thing and getting out of the military and the government and not having that community. If you walk into VGA, you feel it. It's different when you walk in, from them cheering that there's a new customer in there to them getting a picture with you when you buy something. It's a different feeling and it means something. From that, the book would have never happened if that mastermind didn't exist. Donnell would have never came up with VGA, and his wife would have never put up the idea to have the mastermind group. Then I wouldn't have a book right now. And so you never know the circles that you get into, how it's going to change you or your business. And then, I mean, if you're a veteran and you're listening to this, get out and help other veterans. I mean, everyone's going through the same things. The same thing in the military. You always had someone above you that's done what you've done. When you get into military groups, you now have that opportunity to help other veterans that are hurting or need help just like you do.
Hey, so tell me, how do people get plugged in with you? How do they get plugged in with TGS coaching? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So first and foremost, there's several ways you can get a hold of me. The best way, go to the website, tgscoaching.com. On the website, you can see more about the services. You can find the book on there. But most importantly, you can book a call with me. So right on there, there's a calendar link. You can find an available time, and then you can book a call, and then we can have a talk. If you're looking for just more of my personality and some of the stuff that I put out, on all social media platforms at either Eric McConaty, that's MCCONATY, or TGS Coaching. So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I think that's where I'm at.
We definitely appreciate your energy. We appreciate your time, and definitely appreciate the knowledge. Thank you for jumping on and joining us tonight.
No, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. I mean, VGA has been nothing but great to me, and it's just an honor to be here on the podcast and to be one of the people here.
Hey, Donnell, how do people stay connected with VGA?
Man, so there's several ways. Number one, we need you guys to go on all social media platforms, and anytime you see something that says VGA on it, like, share, and comment. That like, share, and comment could actually change the life of a veteran to get them to their purpose, their passion, and prosperity. We also, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to be a part of a community that means something, that if you invest in it, you'll get what you put into it. And so go to our website, veteransgrowingamerica.com, and become a member of our organization and participate in the work that we do. And we'll just say one word to you: shop, baby.
I love it. I love it. Again, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Truly appreciate it, brother.
Well, thank you. Let's grow.
Let's grow. Thank you so much, Eric, for being a part of our podcast and being a part of our community. It's an honor to be able to tell your story.
Thank you.
We are over and